Rep. Koleszar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, put simply, isn't the whole purpose of this bill to ensure that the candidate receiving fewer votes in Michigan nevertheless receives electoral votes and thereby nullifies the votes of tens of thousands of Michigan voters?
I would argue that at this point, our current winner-take-all system nullifies the votes of many people. The fact that, like I said, historically with us being a swing state, purple state, whatever you want to say, 50%, roughly 49.5% of the population goes red, somewhat 49.5% population goes blue, and there's that middle group that kind of differs, sometimes goes back and forth, that actually decides the whole race for Michigan. So I think a lot of people actually feel disenfranchised when there's a very small group of people going, to blue or red, depends on the year, ends up deciding what the entire state goes. So we're actually making sure that people are included. I think it's more inclusive at this point that it's by congressional district.
Okay, but then what becomes of the constitutional command of one person, one vote in a system designed intentionally to weigh the votes of some voters more heavily than others?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Well, if you look at population distribution in Michigan and you do it by congressional districts, you're weighing some votes heavier than others.
Well, our congressional districts are drawn and will be in the future by an independent redistricting commission and the parameters that we all know. But right now and going forward, our congressional districts are approximately the same numbers of people inside of them. It's not as though one congressional district has 1,000 votes and another one has 1,000,000. They're approximately the same size. But to the representative's point, right now, if 4.9 million vote for the future Democrat nominee and 5.1 million vote for the future Republican nominee, 4.9 million votes under the current system get absolutely nothing for their vote, and under your logic, they're disenfranchised. Under our legislation, less people using your logic would be disenfranchised. But again, I don't think that that is a fair characterization.
Okay, I mean, if your objective is really to ensure that the President of the United States is elected in a manner that reflects the will of the people, why are we here talking about these bills and not about a national popular vote?
Well, because if we went to a national popular vote, the votes in California and New York and Florida and all these other major centers is where the votes are going to come from to pick the winner. If you want to make sure that Michigan citizens' voices are heard, the national popular vote is the worst possible way you could conceive of doing that. And then you get into situations where the voting rules in some states, you could actually start challenging what the procedures are in other states based on the fact that my vote was not counted because of the voting rules in California. Exactly the Texas lawsuit that we saw that was not accepted by the Supreme Court would have standing and would have had standing if we did the national popular vote. But because, in the Texas case, the electors of Texas, the voters of Texas, picked the presidential candidate that they wanted, and those electors got seated, it didn't matter, according to the Supreme Court, what happened in other states because Texas voted for the guy who used to be president, and the Texas electors got seated. If you do the national popular vote, the Texas lawsuit would have had standing, and we would have thrown that thing to the Supreme Court. Now, if that's what you want, we could do the national popular vote. But under the current rules, that wouldn't be able to be happening.
All right, thank you for that. We are going to move on.